Welcome to MindSwitch Books. What if I told you that the secret to changing the world and to conquering your own biggest challenges starts with one simple 2-minute task you do every morning? Today, we're diving deep into Admiral William H. McRaven's incredible book, Make Your Bed. We're going to cover everything from dealing with unfairness, facing down your biggest fears, and the one single thing that can give you hope in your absolute darkest moment. And believe me, you're gonna want to stick around for that last one.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Really? Making my bed? It sounds almost silly, right? But stick with me here, because this one tiny act is the key to a whole philosophy that can get you through just about anything life throws at you. So let's get into it.
So in SEAL training, the very first thing they inspect every single morning is your bed. And when I say inspect, I mean inspect. The standard is absolute perfection. The instructors would literally bounce a quarter on the blanket. If that quarter didn't jump high enough, well, you were doing it all over again, and probably getting an earful while you were at it.
But here's the thing. It was never about getting a good job from the instructor. Nope. It was about something much deeper. It was about instilling discipline, paying attention to the tiny details, and, this is the important part, starting your day with a win, a completed task. That little sense of pride creates momentum. It tells your brain, hey, I already accomplished something, and that feeling can carry you through a brutal day. But, and this is a big but, SEAL training has a way of teaching you that sometimes even your best effort just isn't going to be enough.
Okay, so let's start with that foundation, completing the task. This is all about discipline and a very, very harsh dose of reality.
Which brings us to the sugar cookie. Yeah, it sounds kind of fun, doesn't it? It's not at all. It's a punishment where you're forced to run into the freezing ocean, get completely soaked, and then roll around on the sand until you look, well, like a sugar cookie. But you know what's really wild about this? It wasn't always for doing something wrong. That's right. The so-called infraction often didn't even matter. The punishment could be completely random. You could have the most perfectly made bed, the fastest run time, you could do everything by the book, and still, the instructor would point at you and say, hit the surf. You'd end up spending the rest of your day freezing cold, wet, and with sand chafing you everywhere.
And when McRaven asked why, the instructor told him something he never forgot. Because, Mr. Mac, life isn't fair, and the sooner you learn that, the better off you will be. And that is such a powerful lesson, isn't it? Sometimes, bad things happen for no reason at all. You can't control it, so don't complain, don't blame your luck, just accept it, and drive on. Once you stop wasting energy on the unfairness of it all, you can focus on what you can control, your next move. So with that mindset locked in, let's see how it translates into true courage when you're facing down some very real obstacles. It's time to dare greatly, and yes, face the bullies. On the SEAL obstacle course, there is an event called the Slide for Life. It's basically a long rope stretched between two towers. For years, everybody did it the same way, hanging underneath, slowly and safely inching their way across. The record for it barely ever changed, until one student decided to try something crazy. He mounted the rope and slid down headfirst, commando style. Super risky, but unbelievably fast. He didn't just break the record, he absolutely shattered it. And the lesson is crystal clear. You will never, ever know what you're truly capable of if you don't take a few calculated risks. But what about risks you can't control? What about sharks? Seriously. A huge part of SEAL training involves these long, grueling night swims in the waters off San Clemente Island. And, oh, by the way, those waters just happen to be a major breeding ground for great white sharks. They tell you this right before you jump in. So what do you do if you come face to face with one? Well, the procedure is surprisingly simple. First, you stand your ground. You do not swim away. You do not act afraid. And if that shark decides it wants a piece of you, you punch it right in the snout, as hard as you can. It's an incredible metaphor, right? Bullies, whether they're in the water or in the workplace, feed on fear. They look for the easy target. But when you find the courage to stand up to them, to not back down, they'll often just swim away looking for someone else. But what happens when the bully isn't a shark, but a voice inside your own head, screaming at you to give up? That brings us to your darkest moment, and the absolute heart of SEAL training, Hell Week. Just try to imagine this. It's Wednesday of Hell Week. You're standing chest deep in the Tijuana mudflats. It's pitch black, the wind is howling, and the water is freezing cold. And you've been there for 15 straight hours.
You're exhausted in a way you didn't even know was possible. You're cold to the bone. You're just miserable. Morale is completely gone.
And then the instructors come over with an offer, a deal. They say, we've got a warm fire over here, hot coffee, all this pain can end if just 5 of you quit. That's all it takes. 5 men. Think about that. What would you do? You're freezing, you're broken, and you see the guys next to you starting to shake their heads, ready to give in. It's in moments like these that the real lessons are learned. And if you're getting value from these lessons and this story, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. And maybe share this with someone you know who's going through their own mud flats right now. It could be exactly what they need to hear. So, what happened next?
Just as it seemed like the whole class was about to fall apart, something incredible happened. McRaven writes, "Suddenly, above the howl of the wind came a voice, singing. It was terrible. Off-key, raspy, weak, but it was there. And then another voice joined in, and then another.
And in that single moment, a whole group of freezing, miserable men found hope. Because one person had the courage to sing. That one act of defiance showed everyone else that if he could endure it, maybe, just maybe, they could too. It's a powerful reminder that hope can be a chain reaction, and sometimes you just need to be the one to start it."
Which brings us to the final lesson, the one that underpins all the others. The lesson to never, ever quit. Right in the center of the SEAL training compound, there's a big polished brass bell, and it has a very simple purpose. If you've had enough cold, enough pain, enough getting yelled at, all you have to do is walk up to that bell and ring it 3 times. And just like that, you're done. You can go get a warm meal and a soft bed. The bell is the easy way out, and it is staring you in the face every single day. But McRaven's words here are so critical. If you quit, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Quitting never makes anything easier. And he saw this principle in its purest form, not in training, but in a hospital room in Afghanistan. He was visiting a 19-year-old Army Ranger named Adam Bates, who had just lost both of his legs in an explosion. Bates couldn't speak because of his injuries. He was lying in his hospital bed, facing a future that had been completely shattered. But as the Admiral stood there, Bates took a piece of paper and signed a message to him. It just said, "I will be okay." Just think about that. In his absolute darkest moment, he refused to ring the bell. A year later, that same kid was standing tall on prosthetic legs, challenging his fellow Rangers to a pull-up contest. He was more than okay. He was unbreakable.
So here it is, the final takeaway that ties this whole thing together. Never, ever ring the bell. Life is going to hit you hard. It's going to be unfair. It's going to throw sharks and mud flats and impossible challenges your way. But the one thing, the only thing you always have complete control over is your resolve not to give up. Thank you so much for joining us on MindSwitch Books today. If these lessons resonated with you, I highly encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next deep dive. And honestly, this is just scratching the surface. To get the full impact of Admiral McRaven's wisdom, you've got to read the book. We've left a link for you to grab your own copy down in the description below. Trust me, it's a game changer. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.